Hello and welcome to the first official episode of our vlog, Everyday Edwards. Thank you so much to everybody who voted, who commented, who told us how much you enjoyed it. We really appreciated that, and obviously
I'm the winner.
You're the winner. Everyday Edwards won out over Faith First, which
Although I actually was joking about Everyday Edwards.
You were joking, but it was a really good name. And we also got some really good suggestions on some other things. So we want to incorporate them into maybe the names of different episodes because there really were a lot of good suggestions. Yeah. But Everyday Edwards seems to be the consensus favorite, so that's what we're going to be calling this. And really, more than anything, just thank you for watching because that's fun to see that people are watching. So what we want to do every week is talk a little bit about our lives, talk about our kids, talk about kind of the situations of everyday life, struggles, good times, whatever it might be, and just really talk about kind of what we're learning from it. So today we're going to be talking about something that really is maybe a theme of our life. It's something that from the very beginning, we really kind of coined this term, never settle, right? And it was an important part of our relationship. So that's what we're gonna be talking about.
Actually, my mom coined it.
Oh, all right, well,
shout out to Mom.
Absolutely, which we have to do a lot of times, but yes, definitely never settle. I mean, that's something that's really important to us. But first, we gotta show them that little clip. So this week, in the Edwards family, this is Everyday Edwards, we got a chance to do some fun things with the babies, and I know we got some requests to have the babies in the video, so maybe if they wake up while we're recording, we'll bring them out, but for now you can settle for some of the videos that we shot during the week. Caleb just ate some salsa, burned his face. Ellie chowing down on this delicious Munchables organic teething wafer. Ooh, that sounds good. But you can ask for nicer weather. If we could put an ocean right there, though, instead of 390, that'd be even better. We got to go out to a Mexican restaurant where Ellie ate her first quesadilla. It really was quite a moment, which she just devours everything, and Caleb got to eat his. He had some salsa, which...
Well, actually, Ellie ate Caleb's quesadilla.
True. And Caleb ate some salsa and instantly...
spit it out because it was too spicy.
It was too hot for him, but it was fun to watch. We try to, as much as possible, make sure that we have that time to spend together.
Especially on the weekends.
Life gets so busy. So if we can set aside some time to be able to do that, to try to put down the cell phone, which obviously I didn't because I was taking videos, but just to spend that time together, it's just really an important part of our lives. So we're going to be talking about never settling, and this kind of is the story of our relationship in the beginning. And really, when we met each other, I wasn't currently in a relationship, but you were. And so, like, it wasn't, as you would say, love at first sight, even though for me it was very much attraction at first sight. But needing to be respectful, because she was in a relationship and I wasn't going to, I didn't want to step over any boundaries. And so we first met, and this was just a funny story. We just first met at the place where I worked. We had an apartment upstairs, and Jamie's sister had come over, and we met, and it was just a very quick interaction.
Yeah.
But then through the youth group that we were in.
I was also a lot younger.
Yeah, that's true. Jamie's 5 years younger than me, and
so I was 16 at the time.
Yeah, when we first met, but not when we first started talking or anything like that. When we fast forward a few years, then we met again through the youth group that we were running at the time.
Yep.
Jamie and her sister is one of our youth leaders and came, and so we got to meet there. And then it was just spending time like at your family's house.
I think it really took off in the gym. I ran into you at the gym.
Yes.
Because I stopped coming to GN for a little bit, and then I decided to start working out again, and I saw Sam running on the treadmill.
Can I tell you that my fitness plummeted when I met Jamie? Like, absolutely.
And mine skyrocketed.
Like, she was driving a half hour to come see me at the gym.
Yeah.
And I went from working out like very intensely and every day, and I wasn't missing the gym, but I went from like lifting a lot of weights to kind of like talking on the treadmill. And
stretching with me.
Stretching, and like I never stretch ever. Yeah. But like just down from like 7 miles an hour to like 3 miles an hour so I wouldn't be out of breath so we could talk. We talked about our love of country music.
I remember that.
Right? Which I don't even necessarily love country music anymore, but definitely during that time, we connected.
So we had a lot in common.
Yeah, and it was just spending time together.
And I was a little bit older, so the gap didn't seem as big. Because when we first met, I was 16, and I guess you were 21. And I think it just felt like too big of a gap, so I kind of thought, even though I was in a relationship, that you were attractive, but I thought he was way out of my league. The important part of this gym story is that I approached you. You didn't approach me.
Okay, yes, this is true. But
I was running on the treadmill, and
all right,
I didn't have any qualms about going up to him because I didn't think anything would ever come of it. I just said, oh my gosh, there's Pastor Sam on the treadmill. Let me go say hi. And I think you probably got my number from Abby.
Yeah.
Because we said, let's do this again. Let's hang out. Because I probably walked the treadmill with you a little bit.
Yeah, because I remember the setup was that the treadmills were overlooking the gym, and you had come in this way.
I had walked in, and I saw him. I mean, you're tall to begin with, but then you're on the upper level.
And then bouncing up and down.
Yeah. And if anybody who knows Sam knows that Sam bounces when he walks, so he was hard to miss.
Yes, I was bouncing up and down.
He was bouncing up and down on the treadmill, and he was bouncing a little bit more when he saw me. I'm just kidding.
It worked out pretty good. My bounce worked out pretty good because it caught your attention. So from there, a friendship really did develop.
It did.
And that was the best place to start.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think that if we were to give advice to people who wanted to be in a healthy relationship, one of the pieces of advice would be to be friends. To be friends first and to have a healthy relationship first.
Definitely. And the communication part of it, which I think in the beginning it's really easy to have good communication.
Yeah.
Because you're just so excited to see each other all the time to text all the time and to talk all the time.
That's right.
And not that you get less excited to see each other, but your communication, you get a little bit more used to just talking about the regular things and the ordinary things of life instead of taking the time to really discover each other once again and to be able to talk in depth. And that's more, as you go down the road towards marriage, but very important nonetheless.
Yes.
But so the never settling part. So she was in a relationship. I wasn't at the time, and I really did want to be respectful of that. But one of the things that we kind of took out of this was that it's very easy to be in a relationship and to kind of just settle into it and just kind of think, well, this is where I am, this is who I'm with, and just keep progressing down that road. And as a Christian, generally that ends in, proposal and marriage. And not that there's anything wrong with that, and that is the way that it's supposed to go. But sometimes you don't stop and reassess. And look at some of your differences and look at some of the things that maybe you don't connect on. And I think it's important to note that it doesn't mean there's something wrong with the person.
The other person.
Yeah, it's just maybe they're not the person for you, but I think it's important to stop and ask those questions before the engagement, before the marriage, so that listen, this is who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. And I think that if we probably did that more often, especially as Christians, there wouldn't be such a high divorce rate. Sometimes it is just, hey, let's get married so we can have sex. Serious. Yeah, and then that is the novelty, and all of a sudden then you're having to spend life with one another and do life with one another.
And then you realize when it's too late that this probably wasn't the person that God had for them all along.
Yeah. And if you got to that point, the cool thing about it is that God can redeem anything use anything. And so he'll use your relationship. And we're a big proponent on working on your relationship, working on your marriage, and not quitting on it and walking away just because things get difficult. But at the same time, before you get to that point, maybe it's a good idea to stop and to look and to really have that discussion with one another, with God. And really, and this is important, I think it's really important to bring up, have this discussion with people that know you well.
Yes.
I remember I was in a serious relationship and I sat down with my dad, and my mom I probably didn't even have to sit down with. She probably just would have told me straight up, but my dad asked me to go to lunch and we sat down and he's like, I really think that you need to rethink this. And if you know my dad, that's not necessarily his personality to step in, but he did, and I'm so grateful. Oh, it was huge. But I
never knew that.
Yeah, it would have been better for me to stop and talk to him because he knows me well. And the people around you that know you, even if it's siblings, because my sister, I think sometimes still I'm asking her for, advice on things that I should know about myself, but sometimes other people who know you better are able to see, and she's just really wise anyway, but really are able to look into your life and see.
She was that person for me.
Oh.
To talk me kind of, it sounds
so bad, shout out to Abby.
Yes,
right?
My brilliant sister-in-law, Abby. when I was in that relationship, around that time that I had met Sam, we went out to Chili's. And it's funny to think back because at that time, well, let me just say that when I first saw Sam in the gym, I think it was easy for me to approach him because I didn't think that there was any possibility of us ever getting together.
I did.
So I had no qualms about going up and talking to him because I wasn't intimidated at all. I wasn't trying to impress him. I didn't think that I was ever going to be his girlfriend, let alone his wife.
And I was part of her not thinking.
And I was also in a relationship at the time.
Yeah.
So, but I was closer to Abby, obviously, than I was to you. And around that time, Abby and I went on a little date to Chili's, and we had a deep conversation about the relationship that I was in, and she really helped me through it. And she gave me some really great advice and perspective, as Abby does. And she shed some light on a lot of things for me, and it opened my eyes. And I'm really grateful for that because it gave me more of a push to end the relationship that I was in because I knew it was really unhealthy, and it was getting more and more unhealthy at that time. But it just was not the person for me. And I kind of knew that in the back of my head towards the end of the relationship, where I was really feeling in my spirit that this was an unhealthy relationship, but I felt bad. And that's something that I really struggle with, is people pleasing. And that sounds weird, to people please your boyfriend or girlfriend, but I was really close to his family. I loved his family. They loved me, and I felt like in a lot of ways I was saving him. And then I felt bad that I had to be the one to end that. It was really hard, and I remember actually we met, in a parking lot, and I had to end it, and we were both crying, and I almost wanted to take it back. That's how bad I felt. I was actually willing to stay in an unhealthy relationship that I knew was wrong because I felt bad, which I'm sure so many of you can relate to. So I just really encourage you guys to ask God and to ask the Holy Spirit specifically to give you the courage and to give you the wisdom and the words and whatever else you need to do what's right and to do what's best and to honestly do what your gut is telling you to do.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. And we've talked about this before, but sometimes it feels like you're just so invested in a relationship that you just you're too far along and you can't get out. Your lives are too intermingled, and I'm not telling anybody to break up with anybody, but really, until this ring's on the finger, there isn't a point where you can't at least stop and reevaluate. Yeah,
it's never too late.
And it's just I've heard the analogy, you feel like you're on a roller coaster and you just can't get off. It's just going too fast.
Yeah.
But that's not the case, especially with God. And like we said, God can redeem any relationship. So don't watch this video and just go break up with your... No, because it really can. But just take the time to look at it, because we had to do that. I had to do it a little bit more just because I had, been in a few relationships beforehand. And like we said, nothing wrong with the other people, but it just means that maybe they're not for you and that they're meant to be with somebody else. And you don't want to rob somebody else of the person they're meant to be with. And you especially don't want to rob yourself. It's okay to be selfish in this area.
Yeah.
It's too important not to be. And then when we think about it and we look at the little babies that we have now, think that was maybe ever in jeopardy of not happening because we were too comfortable or too, just felt like we were stuck someplace. It's a terrible thought to have because they're the best things I think to ever happen to us.
More than we can think or imagine.
But
truly.
She is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and that's for sure. And
it's okay to be selfish, but also I was so at that time, and maybe I didn't think so at the time, but at the time, reflecting back, I really was so insecure. I never thought that I'd be able to end up with you. No.
We're not even putting this on the podcast. That's not even
I think another reason why it's easy to become complacent in a relationship is because you don't think that you can get any better.
Yeah, it's true.
Right?
I think we need to talk about that on next week's episode.
Okay.
So
we'll save that for later.
thank you so much for watching again. This is a little bit of just what we want to do, talk about, our experience and kind of what we learned from it. But we'd love for you to comment below. Comment on YouTube so that we can see it on there, but Facebook, Instagram, wherever you see this.
Ask us any questions that you have about us.
Yes.
We'd love to share.
We want to know questions. We want to interact.
We'd love to be real with you all.
Absolutely. And anything that you want us to talk about in the future, we've got some episodes lined up, but we'd love to really talk about what the things are that you'd like to hear about. So thank you so much for watching again. This has been Everyday Edwards, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
How does it go? When you need to
pee.
when you something stop and go right away.
Oh yeah. When you need to go poo, stop what you're doing.
When you need to go potty, stop and go right away.
Oh yeah, you're right. Not potty.
Flush and wash and be on your way.
Ooh, good, honey.
I've been watching.
I'm gonna be humming that song for the rest of my life.
Yes, Jesus loves me.
Mm-hmm.
There are worse songs to be humming.
I realized that when I was standing in Smokehouse, I was humming it. I mean, I was singing it. And the guy next to me is probably like, I'm cold. I don't want to live in New York anymore.
Baby, it's like the warmest day we've had on record and
Oh.
right? Do you want to show when you're going?
I want to come.
Okay. It doesn't, don't you, like when I'm preaching and you guys on the microphone, do you
Am I preaching?
know where you're speaking?
I don't care.
Alright. Alright, just want to start it?
Yes, honey.
Okay. Ready?
Oh, we started it from here?
Yeah.
Oh,
Ready?
no, we're not on camera.
We're on camera now. When I went back, I pressed record.
Oh, hello. Wait.
Alright. People only knew what you had to go through being married to me. I'll take this now. Hello and welcome to